Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
Welcome into Chicago Sports Podcast. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me here tonight? Thank you guys for joining us today. I got all the hype, man. I got all the football hype. I got all the Ben Johnson hype in me right now. I think I'm just a little too excited tonight, Dano. So thank you guys for watching tonight. Yeah, we got football. We're all about football tonight, dude, and we're excited for the games this weekend. We're more excited about our coaching search because we have no idea who the hell our coach is going to be coming up, and that's why I brought my good buddy Dano in so we can break everything down, and he can tell us by the end of today's show who is going to be the next coach of the Bears. Are you going to be ready for that, Dano?
Oh, absolutely, man. I just want to say happy Friday. Hope everybody has a good weekend. What's up, chat? Hope you guys are always killing it in the chat with us. So let's get rocking and rolling, man. What we got?
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Atmas is already in there. Good to see you, man. He says Dark Horse.
Oh,
he's got Bill Belichick. He's already putting in Bill Belichick, man. Like, yeah,
I heard he hasn't actually signed a contract with UNC yet. I don't know if that's true, but I think I saw it somewhere.
Did his 24-year-old girlfriend just tweet out that they're happy in like he went like they're happy there and stuff, man? So like,
dude, I have a 25-year-old. I have a 25-year-old daughter. I mean, that could be his granddaughter, dude. Hey, God bless him, though. You
know. yeah, man. He's doing something right, man. And so I think it's safe to say he's going to stay there. But what we are going to talk about, though, is a couple of guys that I think have a very good chance to become the Bears' next head coach. And that is Ben Johnson. And we're going to talk about Todd Monken. Both, by the way, both coaches coaching this weekend in the playoffs. And we bring this up because there was some reports coming out today. And the one that I saw, Dano, it popped up on my feed from Pat McAfee show. It actually popped up on my phone this morning when I was at work. And this is what it said. This is exactly what the tweet said. It says, I know everybody this is what Adam Schefter said on the show. I know everybody has Ben Johnson anointed to the Raiders, but I'm not in that camp right now. I don't know where he's going to go, but he's going to have 3 realistic options. Why is everybody ignoring Chicago when it comes to Ben Johnson? And I think that got a lot of us very excited right there. And here's the thing, too. I mean, yes, you hear that, and it sounds like there is some realistic anticipation that he could have some interest in the Raiders job. But when you look at the Chicago job, how could Ben Johnson not be interested in this? I mean, he's in the division. He sees his team play. He sees the way this team has played against the Lions, against his offense. You got to imagine, depending on who he wants as a general manager or not, this would be a destination for him to come to with our roster, Dano.
Right. I mean, if you just look at it in the black and white, you would think that by far that the Chicago job would be the most the job that anybody would want the most. But then you got the Tom Brady factor. You got the Las Vegas weather, just Las Vegas in general over Chicago. Maybe ownership, and also Raiders don't currently have a GM now either, right? So could maybe Ben Johnson? They're thinking he could bring in his own GM, which he's not going to get with the Bears. At least that's what we're assuming. So if you dig a little bit deeper, maybe the Raiders job I could see possibly why the Raiders job could be a little bit more like he would want to go there more than the Bears, but I don't know, man. I still would think the Bears job would be more desirable.
Well, I think you brought up a key point there, Dano. You talked about the general manager position, and a lot of times when these head coaches are out for their opportunities, depending where their status is, depending if they're first-time coaches or whether they're not. But Ben Johnson, I feel like, has got a lot with him right now because of his offense creativity, and sounds like he's the guy. Kind of reminds me of like the Sean McVay of years ago. That this guy's so heavily coveted right now, and I think that's the thing is where he has a chance to get his own person with him. Is he going to be able to grab that person with him? And the Raiders would be the job. You also bring up Tom Brady. You can't forget about that factor either. When you got a guy like Tom Brady, and I know we're talking about the Raiders, and Mark Davis, they've been a train wreck, man. They keep firing coaches. They're down to their second. They're going on their third general manager in the last couple of years right now. However, I think this time around, and I know they're not probably going to say it, Dano, but I do think when you bring up that Tom Brady factor, I think Tom Brady's got a lot more into this than maybe any of us think right now, and who their decision is.
Yeah, it's kind of like having like a Michael Jordan factor. Although I don't know how well that worked out for Jordan when he owned the was ownership of the Hornets. But I mean, he's got some sway, especially I think it's a little ridiculous about how he's able to uh, do this color commentating, his announcing, and then still have part ownership of the team. I mean, it's a little ridiculous to me, but I mean, it is what it is. They're not going to NFL's not going to not let Tom Brady do whatever the hell he wants to do. Apparently,
And you bring up a good point here because tomorrow night, for those of you that don't know, Tom Brady is going to be on the call for the Lions Commanders game. And I can tell you, who do you think is going to be doing that? First off, you're
yeah.
not going to say anything, man. They're going to keep it as basic as it can be. But you know very damn well he's going
Oh
to
yeah.
be in that game, scouting, doing his due diligence, and probably going back to the ownership of the Raiders saying, "Hey, man, this is what this guy has done. This is what this guy is doing right now." Like, how could that not be possible tomorrow night? How could you not put
Oh
those
yeah.
factors together?
And not to mention those guys sit in interviews with the coaches and the players the week before the games. Who's not to say he's rubbing elbows with Ben Johnson during those interviews? "Yeah, we'll take care of you, man. We got you. We got you. Whatever you want." You know what I
I
mean? So,
sent text messages earlier in the day,
so this is
"Hey,
so
man."
typical. Of course, this would happen to the Bears. You know what I mean? Like,
What a coincidence! Yeah, what a coincidence. Tom Brady's on that call tomorrow night, huh?
yeah, right, yeah, right.
Here's the thing, though, too. I mean, when you look at the Raiders, look at the Bears. And I was kind of the Bears. We got the Caleb Williams factor. We got a pretty good roster, and I know we have Ryan Poles still in place. Or maybe that is a factor or not in this decision making. Who knows? But what the hell do the Raiders have right now outside of Max Crosby? Got one of the best tight ends in the draft, and who else after that? Like, where are you going to go to that team, and what are you going to build from there when you look at that roster compared to the Bears roster?
Yeah, I mean, no quarterback. I mean, no quarterback at all. Unless they trade for Kirk Cousins or,
Oh,
get someone off the scrap heap. I don't know. Is that something Ben Johnson is coveting? An old Kirk Cousins? You know what I mean? So, I mean, you would think just through the allure of Caleb Williams, of Ben Johnson, and he's talked glowingly about him in a couple of interviews I've heard. Um, so I don't know, but there are plan A, B, C, D for me would be do what you got to do to get Ben Johnson. I've said that from the beginning, but if we don't get Ben Johnson, I mean that Mike McCarthy's the idea of Mike McCarthy has kind of grown on me a little bit just by hearing, listen to the radio, some interviews during the week. But also, you talk about Todd Monken. Is that how you pronounce it, Monken?
Todd
He's a
Monken, that is
Chicago.
correct.
He's a Chicago guy. He did well in Georgia. He seems he's doing well with the Ravens offense right now. He kind of seems like he plays to his players' strengths. He doesn't try to fit his offense to fit his offense to players that not goes to their strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm glad you bring him up. We're going to get to him in 1 second here because for the longest time I thought he was a dark horse candidate.
Hmm.
Now we're going to get to a little bit of him in just a second. There was something else, and thank you guys. I see you all in the chat, by the way. I see Plank in there. I see Cliff Victoria, the Honey Bear in there as well. So thank you guys so much. Our guy Brandon Trax Hyatt, our leader of everything here, Chicago Sports Podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight. Like and subscribe our YouTube channel and our YouTube page. You'll get those notifications when they pop up. Cliff actually just put up a chat right now saying Vegas has Ben Johnson at minus 200 to the Bears right now. McCarthy next to plus 300, which I think that might be going that way. But here's something else I saw earlier today too. And this is from Jordan Schultz. This was a tweet. This was only about 4 hours ago. So he tweeted out from Jordan Schultz. The Raiders are interested in Ben Johnson and vice versa, but it's too early to call him the favorite. And he talked about it on the herd. He was on the herd with Colin Collard. Pump the brakes. Johnson is still very interested and much in play for both Chicago and Jacksonville. So there's actually another team involved here. So as much as we keep linking them to the Raiders, you got to keep in mind that Jacksonville still has their opportunity out there too, and could have that situation because they have the quarterback that I don't know what he is right now. I don't know
Yeah,
what Trevor Lawrence is.
yeah.
There are times I think he looks really good, and then he has games where I think he just
He's
looks
a guy.
completely
He's
lost.
just a guy.
He's just
Yeah.
another guy with bad interceptions. But think of these divisions too that you're thinking about. If you're Ben Johnson, Do you want to go to that division with the Raiders, and then you got Sean Payton and the Broncos, and you got Andy Reid and the Chiefs, and Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers? You got the Bears with us with the AFC North. I'm sorry, the NFC North with the Vikings, the Packers, and the Lions. Then there's the AFC South with the Jaguars, which that's not a very good division. So, I mean, I think that has a little bit of factor. I think sometimes that's a little bit more overblown, where a lot of people give that more credit than it should. But it's something to keep worth watching though, because if their opportunity, we know that the Khan family, Dano, they will pay the money for it to get the coach in there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think that's the wild card factor is the ownership in Jacksonville. They're going to spend money, the thing about the divisions too. You make some good points, but I started thinking about this the other day. If you look at the NFC North next year, I mean, is Minnesota? I mean, yeah, they look good during the regular season, but how are they going to look next year? Do we think they're going to who's going to be a quarterback for next year? Is it going to be Darnold? Is it going to be a rookie? Is JJ McCarthy? They may not have the year that they had last year. Then you go to look at Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay they started off strong, but their playoff performance wasn't great. They kind of tailed off at the end of the year. And then if the Bears do get Ben Johnson, then you have Ben Johnson taken away from Detroit. How does that affect them? So is the NFC North is going to be as strong next year as it was this year? If you look a little bit, if you dive a little bit deeper in it.
Yeah, the Vikings, I think I saw today, have like 20-something free agents. I also saw the
Yeah.
general manager of the Packers pretty much saying that it's time for us to start winning championships, meaning they're putting some pressure on their head coach, man, to start winning some playoff games. But here's the thing about those teams too, and we could talk about this too in more shows that we have coming. All those teams draft very well, so I think that's what's going to happen in our division. But
Right.
like, they can let players go, and I trust those guys to make the right picks. So that's why we need.
Yeah.
I think it's more important than ever that we get one of these guys right here. I'm with you, Daniel. Ben Johnson's on my top list too, and let's just say they get upset tomorrow night by the Commanders. I don't think they will, but you never know. The way the Commanders are playing right now, I still think Detroit. I think Detroit rolls. To be honest.
Oh yeah.
But I think if let's just say that happens tomorrow, I think Ben Johnson is quickly going to make his decision within the next like 5 to 10 days. I think it goes that fast.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he's going to be interviewing the teams as much as these teams are going to be interviewing him. I mean, I don't know of a hotter candidate as a first-time coach in many years, maybe since McVay, but was McVay even that hot of a candidate back then? You know what I mean? So
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the chat here. I see actually Brandon Trax bringing up Joe Brady, and I see Anthony also Jay Brady bringing up. I don't know. You know what's funny? I feel like it's kind of died down a little bit on the talk with Joe Brady right now, and that's another game that could be very interesting on Sunday. So because that actually, I bring up Joe Brady's name because that leads me into our next guy that we're going to talk about, Todd Monken. As we talk about the coaching updates, Todd Monken, the Bears tweeted out earlier, he did have the interview for the Bears job. They interviewed him as he gets ready for Sunday's game against the Ravens. Oh my! First off, did you see the with Todd Monken? This dude cracks me up. Did you see the way he looked at that press? The way he was talking, he had like those sweatpants on with the play card tucked down inside his sweatpants and his shirt like all over the place. And I'm like, the hell were you at, man? Where did you just come from? Like, he's like this rugged, tough dude, man. Like,
dude, he'd be fun.
He's got that attitude.
Yeah, I think people would like him, especially if they started winning, man. He'd be fun to have in town. He's also a local guy, right? So
yes, he is.
Yeah, so I mean, you know what? I don't know. I wouldn't hate it if they ended up landing with Monken. And if you would have asked me that a week ago, I would have said who? I mean, I knew who he was, and but I didn't know much about him. And then I started digging into it, and he's not a bad candidate.
Well, I called him the dark horse candidate for the longest time.
Yeah.
I'm with you. A couple of weeks ago when they started this process, when they said they were bringing in like 15 to 20 names or whatever, and I saw Todd Monken's name, and I'm like,
yeah,
all right. Now I knew his name because living with a girlfriend that's a Steelers fan, we watch the Ravens all the time, so I knew him from the Ravens, and I'm like, there's no way in hell this guy's going to be on the lower part of the list. But then as things start going forward here, you start reading some more reports and you start reading some tweets of certain people talking about that he could be a legitimate candidate. But you know what's interesting about him is He's had a heck of a 5-year stretch here. I mean, he was at Georgia for the 2
Mhm.
years of their championship, and they had great offenses those years. And then he goes to the Ravens, and he does turn around that offense. And think about their offense this year too. When I was really looking into the Ravens offense, now, yeah, does it help that Derrick Henry went there? Of course it does. I mean, they're number one in rushing yards this year, man, because Derrick
Yeah.
Henry's had a hell of a year. But
Crazy what a good running game does to your offense, isn't it?
it's crazy what a game-changing running back does, and we'll see that this weekend when you see Henry and Saquon Barkley, because those guys are game changers. But
Yeah.
with the Ravens this year, man, you got to remember they had some turnover. They had 3 offensive linemen. They changed 3 different offensive linemen. They put 3 different new guys in there. They changed a lot of their offense. They got rid of their 2 running backs from last year, Edwards and Dobbins, that both actually went to the Chargers. They get Henry in there, and Lamar Jackson looks to me to have that it factor now. I mean, not that he was never a bad player. Listen, he's always been a really good player, but there's a difference between being a really good player and having that it factor. And you could see that in him this year. And I saw that last week against the Steelers. And I think a lot of that has to do with Todd Monken.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy does seem to be a great motivator from everything that I've heard. Um, and like I said, he seems to really get the best out of his players. He doesn't try to pigeonhole them into his offense. He schemes his offenses to their strength, which is what you which is what you all you could ask for in a coach, in my opinion.
And I think that's what he does the best of too. Like it's his offense, but he also gets his players, his whatever what players he has with him right now. Like for example,
Right.
Zay Flowers was out last week, and there's a lot of talk like, oh man, our number one receiver is out. Well, no, that they didn't miss a beat. They did not miss a beat. And I know the Steelers are struggling, but the Todd Monken with his best wide receiver out last week. Keep that in mind, guys. Zay Flowers is their best wide receiver on that team. Um, he schemed with their tight ends. He used a lot of their tight ends in the first part of that game. So he went to the tight ends because he knows they're very good good pass catching tight ends like Mark Andrews. And then that led up into some more progress in their offense. Then you saw Bateman get involved a little bit more. Then you saw Derrick Henry get involved a little bit more and had that balance. And I'm like, man, this dude, the way he could scheme an offense against a really good team in the playoffs, that is something that could be very beneficial for the Bears, and that could be something very beneficial for Caleb Williams.
Right. And if you remember, the biggest criticism of Matt Nagy was, what did he do? He said, my offense is my offense. He didn't try to scheme to his players' strengths. So, I mean, it'd be great to finally have even what was his name? Who was the OC that they had from Green Bay? I
Oh,
tried not to remember his name.
yeah, then he went to the Raiders. Why are we drawing a
Yeah,
blank
yeah,
on
yeah.
his name right now? Yeah, he went to the Raiders, and then he was fired within like 5 games. Luke
Yeah, I
Getsy. Luke
think
Getsy.
yeah, got you. There you go. I think he did. He kind of did the same thing. And you can't do that, man. You gotta scheme to your players' strengths. I don't care. I don't care what your offensive scheme that you have. It's got to be fluid. You know what I mean?
So it does. So this is what I suggest to you guys too for this weekend, because there's some really good football games. I see you guys all in the chat too. By the way, Brad LaRoe, man, good dude. He's in here right
What's
now.
up,
It's good to
guys?
see him in. Um, Shakipa in here. Thank you for watching the show tonight, guys, and thank you guys for all the comments. Watch the football games this weekend. So you want
Hey,
to play?
Coop, real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah.
I'm drinking. How far have we come where I'm drinking coconut water on a Friday night instead of the Coors Lights that we used to start drinking about 10 years ago?
What's that? My Liquid Death.
What happened to us?
Oh my gosh, it's called we aged a little bit, man. Or at least for me, it called my blood pressure got higher a little bit, so I had to
Yeah, yeah,
I had to
I
back
hear
down,
that.
man. Yeah, I know
I hear that.
what has happened to us, man. Now, don't get me wrong. When the football games come on tomorrow, man, I'm going to be dying for a cold drink, and that's
Oh
probably going
yeah,
to happen at some point.
for sure.
Especially with the games that we have this weekend. But guys, watch the games this weekend. If you want to get a closer look at our coaching candidates, I know we've seen a lot of Ben Johnson, but go out of your way, which I think the best game of the weekend is going to be the Bills-Ravens on Sunday night.
Yeah.
But watch
Oh
that
yeah.
Ravens offense. If you've not watched a lot of Ravens games this year, watch that Ravens offense. Watch how they click. Watch how fast they are. Watch their offensive line, everything from their protection to their run game protection to the play calling to what Todd Monken puts together, because you're going to see something in there that all of us that watch the show as Bear fans, you don't get to see very often,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah. For sure.
So I see you guys all in the chat room. Thank you guys for watching tonight. So as we talk about Ben Johnson, as we talk about Todd Monken, there's a very good possibility that we can get one of these two guys. One of them could lose this weekend, or if let's say, for example, the Lions do win tomorrow night, guys, and I think they are going to win tomorrow night. We can't talk to the Bears can't talk to Ben Johnson until the 27th, so like 10 days after that, man. That's what sucks about this process.
Yeah, dude, that's what my fear is. Are the Bears? Are they going to start panicking and be like, "Man, we don't know if we can wait for this guy. What if the Saints end up taking McCarthy or the Jaguars taking another one? You know what I mean? Are they going to start panicking and just not wait for Ben Johnson? You would think though that they'd have people in some back channels that would be talking to like agents or something like, "Hey, listen, man, go to Ben Johnson's agent and say, hey, listen, man, is there a chance that he wants to come to us or not? You know what I mean? But that is my fear that they'll get impatient and they'll jump the gun and just try to hire someone other than Ben Johnson because they don't know what they're afraid of losing out on somebody their second pick. You know what I mean? Their second choice.
Yeah, like we'll have to go get another quarterbacks coach or something like that.
Right.
Brad, I'm looking at the chat right now. I see you guys. I see Bears Junkie 23 Hall of Fame. Thank you guys for watching the show. Vizzo Joe and Brad Laurel brings up a good point. He goes, "I'm
Yeah.
confused about the internet." I was thinking the same thing when I saw that
It's
tweet
kind
today.
of
And that's funny you
concerning.
brought
That's
that
kind of
up.
concerning, isn't it? It's a little bit concerning.
Yeah, man. We go from one day from him having his play sheet in his pants in an interview, man, to interviewing with that. Well, how do you think he dressed for that interview, by the way, today?
The same way that he was at the press conference.
He got the shirt like he's got the Raven shirt like all out and stuff with his hat like
Yeah,
kind of like this.
yeah, coming in there chewing bubble gum with Crocs on.
Rough and tough, man. Man, they can't all look as good as Cliff Kingsbury. I'll
Oh,
just say that.
absolutely not. I mean, that guy is so handsome.
I know. I have a man crush on him, man. Like I don't have a man.
Absolutely.
He's a good looking dude.
Oh yeah, dude, for
I
sure.
was, I was like, and that's it's funny too because he's the one. And the funny thing about Cliff Kingsbury, by the way, is we talk about coaches and coach searches. He pulled out of his interviews. He said, "I'm not doing any more interviews until our
Yeah,
game tomorrow night." So he's all focused about the lines because they know that man, that's gonna be a hell of a game tomorrow night. So yeah, Brad, that's a good point. Listen, the Ravens have their game plan in place. If there's anybody that knows how to run their offense and knows what to do, and he has Lamar Jackson as his quarterback, I think he'll be good to go. But you're right though. On a Friday and they have a game on Sunday, man, that is pretty close.
it's a little concerning, or it just shows ultimate confidence that the guy has.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know
That
what I
he's very
mean?
confident they're going to beat the Bills
Yeah,
on Sunday.
yeah, we got this. Now we're done. We're good.
Yeah, Josh Allen, man, he's a nobody, man. Our defense is going to stop him.
Yeah, right, for sure.
Which, by the way, I think there's supposed to be a lot of snow for that game on Sunday too.
Oh yeah.
I think it's snowing like nonstop in Buffalo right now. I think they're expected to get. I got to go back and look, but I think it's supposed to be a very snowy game for that on Sunday night.
Well, I know next week here we're talking of being at like with the wind chill like -7 or something. So
Oh
it
man,
was 45 today though. It was like a heat wave, man.
it felt good. If that it was close to 60 to where I'm at today. It felt good,
Oh,
man.
sure does.
Not to rub it into anybody here. Sorry. I see people. I see on the chat right now. Illinois Jones says, "I miss Roquan Smith. Boy, you'll see him on Sunday. He's had a hell of a year for the Ravens." So,
Yeah, yeah.
so let's just say this weekend, Dano, as we start wrapping things up here tonight. Thank you guys again for the chat room. Like and subscribe to our
Thanks,
YouTube
guys.
channel, YouTube page. Ben Johnson. Let's say Ben Johnson, Todd Monken, neither or both go out and they're available starting on Monday. Do you think either one of those do you think the Bears would move very quickly between those guys or Mike McCarthy? As a lot of the odds, as we saw earlier, their odds have Mike McCarthy in their favor. Do you think they're going to move pretty quick then if one of those guys become available on Monday?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I would hope so. If they don't, they should all be fired. I mean, but then again, it is the Bears, so who knows what they're supposed to do and what they do are two totally different things.
I know.
What do
I'm
you what do you
excited.
th- what do you think, man? What do you think?
I tell you what you said, man. I get so excited, and I realize we haven't gotten this right the last couple of coaches. So
I'm telling you,
I
man, being a Bears fan is just being in an abusive relationship that
I like
yeah, you shouldn't be in anymore, but you just can't leave.
I know, but you don't want to leave.
Yeah,
Like
you can't. You just can't.
like Todd Monken seems like he'd be a coach, and then I thought of Matt Nagy, and I'm like, would this be another Matt Nagy? So I don't know,
Yeah,
man. I'm like, just get this
yeah.
freaking thing right this time. And if one of the guys used to become available, and you think they're one of those guys, you go after them.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially Ben Johnson. I mean,
And Ben Johnson is I think me and Dan will both speak for at least for both of us. That's one of our and Aaron Glenn would be my other one too, but I don't think he I don't
yeah.
I feel like he's going to be Saints. I feel like the Saints have
I
his name.
I also read something that who knows. This was just on the internet. I didn't check the source to see if it was a legitimate source, to be honest. But I thought I seen somewhere that he was saying that Aaron Glenn's first choice was the Jets.
You played there.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so but I do remember I did hear a lot of him being linked with New Orleans though. But
And so,
let's
guys, so yeah,
go
guys,
ahead.
watch those games tomorrow. You'll watch the Lions tomorrow. You'll watch both of those coordinators, man. They're both excellent, excellent coaches. Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, and Sunday Todd Monken. So we'll see, Dan. We'll see what
All right,
happens.
man.
And
Yeah.
well, thank you guys, all of our sponsors to do TC's World of Wonders. You could check them out at tcsworldofwonders.com. Get your jersey. I need a new jersey for baseball season, so I got to start thinking of that,
You see
Daniel.
that new Cubs jersey came out. They're also in
I got the
jerseys.
Smokies hat here, man. I got the Tennessee Smokies hat out here, man.
Oh, hey, be careful. That's how it starts, dude.
I saw I got the Matt Shaw's jersey I had earlier. So
Nice,
we want to
nice.
thank them. We also want to thank all you guys for watching tonight and our friends at Bridges Scoreboard. You can check them out at
Awesome
bridgesscoreboard.com.
place, guys. Awesome food. Just a great atmosphere to watch
Oh yeah,
sports. You guys are,
Dano's been there quite a few times. He could tell you how good the food
yeah.
is, man. And I've been there once
Dude,
too. Had some really
awesome.
good wings, man. It's a great
Yeah, it's great. The atmosphere, everything. Those guys are great.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching Monsters of the Madhouse Chicago Sports Podcast. We appreciate all the support. Like and subscribe our YouTube channel and our YouTube page, and we'll talk to you soon. Daniel, you have a great night, man.
All right, man. Have a good weekend, guys.
All right, guys, have a good weekend.
All right.